Hi everyone, this is Toni Weel from not so sunny Florida with a possible hurricane approaching. We will see what this is going to be. Sometimes I wonder if I should start this podcast with a nice music as an intro, but I haven't gotten to that. We just discussed it with Gary and it was like, yeah, we'll keep it simple. We have Gary with us, Gary Parent, and of course, Sara from Virtuous Unicorns. That was going to be here, but he must be busy, so we'll see when he shows up. We have a few questions today that we want to go through, and we promise we will do our best to keep it a little shorter than almost 3 hours like last week, because I think, oh, there is that.
Yeah.
Because I think that an hour and a half, we should be able to answer questions. And if not, we'll roll them over to the next week. Because I have
Yes.
to admit, after an hour and a half, I kind of get tired. Or it's like, okay, next. And it's not because I don't absolutely love listening to you guys because you have so much great information. But I think it's just my brain can handle all that information for an hour and a half, maybe. Then it's like, okay, I'm full. So we're gonna try to do it a little shorter. And thank you, Dad, being here. And okay, yeah, let's just get started. Should I? Yeah, I should tell you guys that too. Not you, but the listeners. We are, well, we became actually kind of a team here and are all trained and certified by Dr. Morse on all levels, including iridology. Sara is well, she pretty much knows as much as we do because she's definitely been studying it. And well, we look forward for her to get her certification at some point. That would be great because she
One
is
day soon.
yeah, you are yeah, Sara, you're so good in explaining things and talking with people, so it would be awesome.
Well, thank you. It's because of all of you. I've learned so much from all of you, and I look forward to furthering my education.
Yeah, and we still keep learning too. It is like it's beautiful. I love it. Going to the questions, and this is really funny. And it at every week I give people the opportunity to send in questions. And for the last year, I think everybody got so healthy that no, we don't have questions. We don't have live questions. We don't have questions in email. But then when I looked in the group, and I'm talking specifically about fans of Dr. Morse group, there are so many questions, and often for us with so little information. But I picked a few there, and I had a few others coming in. And that was the thought about oxygen hyperbaric chambers. It seems to be all the rage. Now I looked it up, and I remember Dr. Morse is not really a fan of it. And but what would you suggest as an answer to these? Because we know how important oxygen is, but what about these hyperbaric chambers? And I see Elena just got tried to get on. She's gone again. Okay, go ahead, guys. Whoever is first.
Okay. So I don't know a lot about hyperbaric chambers. I know they're extremely good for us. Uh, Now that's temperature, right?
I don't.
Hyperbaric
Yeah,
chamber.
I don't know. It's I know Dr. Morse is not a fan of it, so that is one thing.
Yeah, I think it's extreme cold.
And everything extreme that goes for saunas too. Everybody thinks that saunas are so great, but to me it
Yeah.
feels like this is quite extreme for the body. Do we really need that? Is it normal? There are people that go to a sauna every day and they say it makes them feel good. Now we go to oxygen hyperbaric chambers to saunas, which is actually okay because a lot of people like saunas. And I had bought a sauna because my husband loved it so much. And when he moved from the Netherlands to the US, I wanted to have that sauna here. So we got one, really nice one. And then we heard from Dr. Morse that it's not that healthy. And this was an infrared sauna. And those things are not really cheap. And I had like, well, if they're not good, I can't even sell them, because then you would give somebody a problem. And but then you have Casillas from way up north in Scandinavia. So they have different saunas there, but still, is it really healthy? Is this what we need to do to get healthy or remain healthy?
The
Well,
hyperbaric
there's
chamber is pressurized oxygen. I don't think it has so much to
oh,
do
okay.
with temperature. I would imagine
Okay.
that it is like a cooler kind of environment, but it's pressurized oxygen. So it's like an intense therapy treatment.
Yes,
But
yes, I
yeah,
agree.
I don't
Yeah,
know
That's
much
there's
about them either. So
yeah, that's what I've always heard. I don't know a whole lot about them either. I've heard a little bit about them. Is that it's a chamber where they increase. It's like imagine uh being in an environment where the oxygen is way more concentrated than normal.
mhm.
They raise the oxygen levels up really, really high, so it saturates your body. And they say that it accelerates healing. Supposedly, Michael Jackson had his own personal hyperbaric oxygen chamber. It helped him to recover from his cosmetic surgeries twice as fast. And I think like half of the professional football teams all have hyperbaric oxygen chambers because it would help them cover from their injuries or their soreness in playing football. It'd help them recover faster because again, just like we talk about the deep breathing, the more oxygen we can flood the body with or consume, the more, it helps the body to be more alkaline, and it also helps, I think, negate some of the acid effects, and and it just helps the body in just different ways. So I think that's why people talk about the hyperbaric oxygen chamber, is that because a lot of your cultures of people that live in higher elevations, some of those are like, even the Hunza people again that live up close to the Himalayas, and stuff. I think that's another reason why people talk about it, but I think at the same time, it's just all about the individual again. And sometimes you don't want to go excessive with those kind of things because it might can create some kind of imbalance as well, so it's really some of those things that, you have to really research into it and look at people that have used it excessively or people that have used it just occasionally. And, you just have to look at many different variables so that you can see, how people have different experiences. That's all I can really say about it.
Yeah, I feel that when it gets all the rage, it's like, yeah, then I usually take a step back. Dr. Morse mentioned a few things, how it can affect the eyes, that the form of the eyes could change, and that must be then from the pressurized oxygen.
Hmm.
And yeah, he mentioned it a few times because that is for everybody listening. If you want to know exactly what Dr. Morse says about certain topics, go to morses.tv and use the bottom search function, and you can just type in. I typed in hyperbaric and oxygen hyperbaric, and I got several referrals to it. But this morning I didn't really have the time to listen to it. But okay, it's yeah, what you say that it's like if you do it once in a while, but it's like we tend to go overboard so easily.
Yeah, I
And I
agree.
see
You
that
know, with
yeah, go ahead.
with the eye thing, the pressure on the eyes. So our internal pressure is about 14.3. That's or 14.7. And that's the pressure inside us to keep the outside world from crushing us. So we're constantly fluctuating in pressure. If we pick something up, our internal pressure changes, our eyes pressure changes, sugar affects the or toxins, when they're not being cleaned out of the eyes, it changes the pressure in the eye. And that's what glaucoma is pressure in the eye due to toxins, and the lymphatic channels are congested so that it can't clean itself. And so we have a lot of things. That's where most of your eyesight issues come from. The pressure on the eye changes the lens, so it affects how you see. And sugar is a big part of that. And we're, more and more people are eating sugar because it's in the food. And I mean, if you have diabetes, look at your sugar. If you have glaucoma, look at your sugar. You have pancreatitis, look at your sugar. I mean, it goes right through. I mean, it's connected to almost everything in the body because we're eating too much of it.
Gary, that's
those are
regular
the things.
sugar, right?
Yeah, that's
Okay.
yes. Tables, like manufactured sugar,
Yeah,
not
refined sugar.
not God's sugar.
Mhm.
We can eat from the wild because the wild eats from the wild, and they're 100 times stronger than we are. They can run faster. They're eating real food, and we have been trained to believe that science has the answer, and that their food is the best thing for us as we get sicker and sicker as a world, a nation, but also as a world now. So, yeah, being in the chamber is, if I don't know what it's pressurized to, but being in a chamber, it's going to be pushing back on you more than the outside atmosphere. So yeah, there is a thing there. I don't know of anybody that ever went or had eye issues because of a barometric chamber, but it's something that you want to be aware of when you go in there. Is you're in a pressurized system and it's pushing against you. So, just be careful of that. It's no different than going, like swimming or scuba diving, and you get down 180 feet, your pressure on your body is going to change. Or going up on a mountain and your ears pop because the pressure on your body is shifting. So we're in a constant flux of the body pressure, internal and external. And that's kind of normal. But being aware of it is definitely important. I went scuba diving in Bonaire, and I couldn't go down more than 8 feet. But my ears felt like they were going to implode from scar tissue and stuff from when I was a kid. I always had ear infections and all that stuff. So then I had to stay out of the water for 2 weeks. That was like torture because I was more like a fish when I was a kid. So yeah, like I said, it's just something we have to be aware of. We have to be aware of the sugar and the chemicals and all the stuff that they're doing. But as far as a chamber goes, I don't know of anybody that's had any major issues that it was blamed on the chamber. And the amount of oxygen, doctors, and I'm sure it's still going on today, when they have long surgeries, they inhale 95% oxygen because it gives you a boost. But it's also addicting. You can be addicted to that rush that oxygen gives you.
Yeah, it definitely
So
feels good.
other
They give
than
you that. Yeah, they give you that after surgeries. And
yes.
I've had it, and I never want anything on me, in me, whatever. But they insisted I would feel better, and yeah, I absolutely did feel better. I see that Elena made it here. I don't know if you guys wanted to add anything else before I give it to Elena so she can ask her questions.
The only thing I was gonna say is that really just depends on what you use it for. I mean, like if you've had like some really bad like burns or something like that, and you're trying to heal, that might be something
Mm-hmm.
to really discuss over with. But if you're doing it just as a therapy, I don't know if I would. I would look in alternative avenues. But I mean, if
Or
it's something drastic, then yeah, I mean, Hail Mary, I mean, you do what you got to do and go for it. But other than that, I think I might just try to go into some forest and take in some real natural oxygen and stuff like that.
Yeah, I just looked it up and it said it was originally created. I'm gonna keep it real short because we'll close out this subject. I just looked it up and it said it was originally created to help with diving, like when people would get the bends from diving,
okay.
in 19 or no, it was actually 1662. A physician built the first hyperbaric chamber with a sealed room with series of bellows and valves, and it was for therapy for for when they're diving. But it goes on and it says in this article, and this is off of Medical News Today, so take it for what it is. It said it can help with an air or gas embolism, anemia due to several blood loss, or no, to severe blood loss. Some brain and sinus infections, carbon monoxide poisoning, burns resulting from heat or fire, skin grafts, necrotizing soft tissue infections, bone marrow infection, arterial insufficiency or low blood flow in the arteries, gas gangrene, radiation injury from like cancer treatment. So those are the things that they're saying that it's used for, and I guess some of those things it might be kind of therapy for some people temporarily until they can control their diet better, and their lifestyle better, so that I guess that we could use it as a tool, used correctly, but it's something that you don't want to just go and use it a lot just because I guess you want to, because it might have some not so positive benefits if you overuse it, like we already mentioned. Yeah.
Yeah, I feel what you mentioned. I think that was Sarah who mentioned that about athletes and Michael Jackson who had an hyperbaric oxygen hyperbaric chamber. If they would have been on fruit or fast, they would heal twice as fast too.
That
So
was sad. So,
Yeah,
yeah,
it was
yes.
there's something to that also. Okay, we're done on this topic. I'll give it over to Elena. So unmute yourself, ask your questions.
Hi. Happy Thursday,
Right.
everybody. I'm glad I got to catch you guys live finally. Um, and well, first of all, I just want to quickly make a comment. I really appreciate what you just said about diving and how you've had problems with equalizing because of your past ear infections. And that just gave me a huge aha moment. Thank you. Because I used to scuba dive a lot and I had a lot of problems equalizing all of the time. And I've been through nitrogen necrosis as well and the bends. Again, test the chamber is awesome. So yeah, I thank you because that gave me I had a lot of ear infections when I was little, as well, which I think it was from being vaccinated at a young age, and
Mhm.
that now makes a lot of sense for me. So thank you. I appreciate hearing that. Because I just never could figure out why I struggle so much with equalizing when I was diving. And I've been down to about 130 feet, and that it's really hard. It
Mhm.
takes me a long time to equalize. So, but yeah, my question, you were talking about eyesight and food a minute ago, and that was one of my questions. I've noticed that my eyesight has just gotten worse. My husband's as well, for nearsighted. Far is fine, but nearsighted. So reading's getting harder, especially even on the phone. And I am on the phone a lot, too much. Um, and I'm just wondering, some people have talked to me about sun gazing, and I recently brought that up to Toni in a message, and she had said that's not true. So, and it's funny because I've been living in Belize for a year and I've been feeling guilty that I live on the beach and I haven't been going out and sun gazing and helping my eyes. But the sun comes up at like 4:30 here, and it's hard for me to get up that early with having two hooligan kids that like to stay up late. So, so what can I do to help my eyesight? I guess obviously, like I don't eat a lot of sugar, but I know it's in a lot of things. Although I haven't really had a lot of it here in Belize. I've been eating so much healthier here in Belize, a lot more fruit and vegetables because it's easy access year round here, and very organically grown here in Belize. So that's my first question is like, but keep that in mind. I wanted to bring up too is that maybe I'll just do this two-part question. My family and I are making our way back up to Canada in 3 weeks, and we're going to spend a year there before we head back down to Belize to develop our property. And I am nervous as heck about the food in Canada because I got my kids off junk food down here. There's no fast food restaurants here, no corporations. And they're already talking about what fast food restaurant they want to go check out when we get back to Canada. And I'm just cringing. So it's a two-part question, I guess. Like, what can I do here in the next few weeks? But when I get back to Canada, and what would be a great way of uh, dealing with the food up in Canada? Because I'm scared of getting sick from it. We've eaten so healthy here, and I lost weight and feel amazing. And I'm just nervous to get back to all the GMO crap and organic food that's sprayed up there. I know it's not real organic food in the stores. So yeah. Anyway, two questions there. I hope you don't mind.
Do you mind if I jump in first real quick?
No, go for it.
What I was gonna say is, what are you drinking though? Or as we just were talking before we even got on here, is water and distilled water. And I think Thad, you know this one is, I can't remember the same, but basically the distilled water helps with dilution of like when you're all backed up. So I would suggest the water. And as far as the food goes though, we had Tony, is it Eli Martin from Free Melon Society? He lives in Canada, so he might be some videos you might want to check out on him.
Yeah, Eli is great with his information, and he just gets whatever is available. And don't worry about it, because worrying is not helping you with your health at all.
Yeah, the
And
fear can be worse
yeah,
sometimes.
it's
Thanks.
you
I'm
will
not feeling super fearful. I'm just kind of inquiring, trying to figure things out, plan ahead before we go there. But I'm definitely not living in any kind of fear. And water, we catch our water here. So we've been
Okay.
drinking rainwater, and I've been filtering it on top of that. So we've been doing good with that.
I would maybe look into the distilled water like what we were talking about before. And I'm sure somebody else can fill in on that saying of what I was trying to think of. And then the fear, like we're supposed to be everywhere where we are supposed to be. There is no reasons why we shouldn't be. So whatever experiences you go through, just do everything virtuously, and everything will work out the way it's supposed to be. Because I try to overthink everything before I get somewhere too. I don't know if you can hear my autistic son in the background talking, but so I'm very used to planning ahead and overthinking and that kind of things too. And we still fail, but we still have our wins too. So everything's just a process, and everything will work out the way it's supposed to be as long as you're being, true and virtuous to yourself. All the paths will open up to you, and be open and honest with your kids. Really talk through with them and stuff, and tell them the reasons why and things like that. And all of your good stuff will eventually start working out. One day you'll see it, all of a sudden you'll be like, oh my gosh, they are doing what I was saying and I didn't have to. So it all works out.
Well, also explain to them that they're not gonna, if they haven't eaten anything like that in a while, they're not gonna feel good after they eat it. Well, it could go either way. So some people it could not affect them, much at all. But then some people they could have a bad reaction to it and they wouldn't feel good, because it's something that their body hasn't had for a period of time. And then plus a lot of fast food is or well, excuse me, all fast food is really Franken food, and then it's made so poorly and it's created on purpose, to make people sick that you're pretty much just eating pure pure chemicals, because to tell a short story that goes and it shows the example of this. This guy, he was making a video, and he was like, what is in the Chick-fil-A chicken sandwich to make people so freaked out and want to go wait in line for long periods of time just to get that chicken sandwich? What are they putting in that? And he actually found that they, for a short period of time, they put the ingredient list on their website until they took it off because everybody was outraged because it had over 40 different chemicals in it. And so that's what I'm trying to explain to you, that food is created to not only make us sick, but to make us addicted. So that's pure poison. So
Well,
explain to your kids what they're consuming, because sometimes when people realize that that's not food, that's poison, and they might think twice about consuming it. And then also tell them it's going to be torturous if they consume that and they really enjoy it, and then they have to go back down to a place where there isn't any. Their body's going to be thinking about it constantly, and then it's going to be torturous to them. It's like someone giving them drugs for a little while and getting them where they like it, and then you're taking that away from them. So sometimes explaining all these things ahead, and letting them think about it in a logical way, they might have a different opinion about it, but sometimes, as humans tend to be, sometimes you got to let them learn the hard way, and you got to let them just have their experience. And then whatever comes may, it comes may, because I mean, you can't sometimes fight with people when they want a different choice for their body versus you. And I know that's hard when you're, parents and stuff, but sometimes, I mean, you can only, do so much. And if they insist, they insist. And because sometimes it makes it even worse, just, standing up and refusing. And sometimes maybe if they're insisting so much, then they might learn that they don't need to eat it because it makes them feel so bad. And then they'll say, well, mom was right, because mom was trying to tell me that I shouldn't eat it. And then it even more, it gives them a better experience because it even more validates, what you were trying to tell them. But that's what I would say about the fast food thing and
Yeah.
just eating
Thank you.
challenged.
I have had, sorry for interrupting, I have had long talks with them, and we're homeschoolers. We've researched this. They know about the potatoes and with the methane gas on it from McDonald's French fries. They know what's in McDonald's food. They know all of this. We've done like lots of research and talked about it all. And that's not even really my main concern. I just brought that up. Sorry. Like, it's
I
more about
understand.
transitioning to the grocery store and all the crap that's in the grocery stores and the food that's all sprayed. Like, we stay away from the middle aisles, and we're not eating a lot of meat anymore. We've really turned away from it down here. And so it's more like I'm really more concerned about the vegetables and fruit. But my main question though is, what can I do for my eyesight with
Yeah,
regarding with
that's
food?
yeah.
You said like no sugar, but I don't eat a lot of sugar. So I'm just kind
Marlena,
of, or
that's what I was going to tell you next, is that you first have to look at, it's not, when we're educated by Dr. Morse, when you have a condition that's creating symptoms that you don't like, you have to first look at what's the cause of those symptoms. And so you have to look at all of the symptoms that are giving you a sign that you're having, issues with your eyes. You have to look at other symptoms that could be telling you a sign that's creating those issues with your eyes. Like, do you have other issues of head congestion, like tinnitus, ringing of the ears, which that's what tinnitus is? Do you have migraines or headaches or sinus issues? Do you have other symptoms that are going on in your head that's indicating that you have congestion built up in your head? So you have to look at that. You have to look at, have you had a history of bowel constipation or sluggishness, or irritations, or you have to look at, I have to look at several different symptoms that shows what's going on that are all connected. That's why we really can't help people unless we have extra information to put all that together. And then we look at also your eyes and what your eyes tell us, because your eyes can show if you have a lot of congestion of lymphatic fluids in those areas, of your head, as well as your transverse colon, which has a direct correlation to it. So So what I'm getting at is you go by those symptoms that you're having. And if you do have a lot of those different symptoms, then what you have to do is you have to start helping the body first to eliminate that buildup of congestion in the head so that your eyes can be able to function better. It's not so much in the beginning stages on what you add and it's more like what you take away. You take away the things that are keeping your colon and your body congested, and it's keeping your head from draining. And of course you avoid the things that are the most contributing to that, which is animal products. Even if you're eating it occasionally, that's still going to create problems of congestion majorly, because that's a very high mucus, high acid food. Okay. And then especially dairy products. Dairy products are very notorious for that. Using oils of any kind in your food, even sauteing, even in salad dressings, even peanut butters or almond butters, any of that kind of stuff, it's going to cause major congestion in the body. Because, see, what Gary was talking about earlier is that, yes, our body does have issues absorbing sugar, and sugar is acidic when it's refined. But a lot of times, even with diabetes, it's more about the fat congestion in the body that's blocking the body from allowing the sugar into the cells, even with natural sugars. Because you can take a type 2 diabetic that has had a really heavy consumption of saturated fats, and if their body's built up a lot of that fat storage in their body, and they're already seeing signs of like fatty liver and other congestion of fat in the body, if you even give them lots of fruits, they'll start having higher levels of blood sugar readings temporarily, until they start dissolving and breaking up that fat deposits in the body, so that fat can start coming out of the tissues, and then it'll come out of the cells, because that's what causes diabetes. It's called intramyocellular lipids, which is just a fancy term for fat inside the cell that's blocking the insulin from allowing the sugar to come into the cell. And that really applies to any sugar. But see, the problem with refined sugar is that it's acidic, and it's a lot of times it's GMO, because it comes from GMO high fructose corn syrup and all these different causes. I mean, sources. So what it goes back to, and I'll keep this short and I'll let others chime in too, is that if you can get your colon clean enough, because you're eating a clean enough diet, and you can get your head to start draining by allowing your central trunk to drain, as your colon drains, then your central trunk of the body drains, then that creates a suction effect that helps the head to start draining. When your head starts draining, you start seeing your sinuses draining, you start coughing up mucus from your lungs, you start seeing those things happening, then that starts to help improve your eyes. And then also you can use different tools that will help that along, and that's the wonderful herbs like Dr. Morse has in some of his formulas. He has eye bright. That's a wonderful herb for the eyes, and also bilberry. And it goes back to those berries. Berries are wonderful for the eyes. Bilberries, schisandra berries. There's so many different wonderful berries that you can use in your foods, and you can also use the medicinal berries that you can't always get those as berries to eat, but you can get those in powders or in dried capsules, and you can take those, and that can help as well. So there's many different things you can do. You can also do like ginkgo biloba. You can do gotu kola. You can do bacopa. Bacopa is an herb from India. All of those help increase the oxygen to the brain. You can also do rosemary oil on the back of your neck by your cerebellum. That can increase the oxygen available to the brain. There's many different things you can do. Deep breathing exercises again, like me and Gary talk about a lot. You can do that. That's very beneficial. You can increase the nitric oxide that you take in by humming, and by singing and by deep breathing. You can make sure that you're not breathing out of your mouth too much during the day, and especially at nighttime while you sleep. While you sleep at nighttime, you can try to like open up your windows when you have a chance in your home or wherever you are, and allow more oxygen to come into the home. You can get out into nature and get out there where you can breathe more fresh air, fresh oxygen and stuff. There's many different things you can do. You just have to look at several of the different symptoms you're having and how they're all correlated and how they're all related. And then you have to look at the different things that you're doing that are contributing contributing to forming those symptoms. So that's why we're explaining to you that you have to sometimes look at the diet as number one, and then you have to look at other things you may be doing that's contributing to those symptoms. Because as long as you're causing the symptoms, even in small amounts, it's harder for your body to unwind those causes. Because that's what the whole goal of what we're trying to do anytime we're having symptoms that we dislike, is we're trying to reverse the cause. Well, you can't put out the fire if you're still feeding the fire. So you have to learn how to help the body to, unwind that cause. But it takes time because the body heals in reverse, according to Dr. Morse and Dr. Jensen. So it's going to work on the trash and the buildup from most recently deposited. So if you're continuing to pollute the body, it's only going to work on the most recently deposited trash. But if you're trying to get to the stuff from like 20 years ago, then it's going to take discipline in what you eat and what you do so that your body can start working on the old trash more than the new trash that's incoming. And that's even from our environment, the air we breathe, the products we use in our skin and around our home. There's so many different factors that can cause toxicity build up in the body, from different sources. So that's why we have to look at all the different things that's going on, all the different things that we're doing, and you have to find what your triggers are, what your causes are. And then once you find what your causes are, then you can start doing the opposite of that to help unwind the situation. And so that's a kind of a little snippet on what I would recommend you to do, but I'll pass it on to everyone else so they can answer you.
Would you like to
Okay,
add something, Gary?
Yeah. So from the time I was 6 years old, I wore double vision glasses. It was like I didn't wear glasses. I can almost remember like the feeling of my eyes going out of focus. And so in 1999, I started a 10-day cleanse with the Master Cleanse. Now, I knew nothing about the Master Cleanse. One of my friends and I would just like, well, this looks like a good idea. Let's try this. So by day 7, I've never worn glasses since. And I didn't eat solid food at all. I only drank the Master Cleanse and herbal teas. Now, skullcap is another good upper brain and nerve herb, and cleavers opens the lymphatic pathways. And what's important about the breath, if you have congestion around your eyes, your head, or anything like that, to do a deep breath through the nose pushes your primal brain stem up into your head, because things up here are stagnant. Now, I'm not saying this is what's going on with your eyes. That's what was going on with mine. And when you do that deep breath and that brain stem pushes up, all the plates in your head expand. Everything changes the pressure in your head. And breathing through your nose creates nitric oxide, which helps everything relax, especially heart and arteries. So I had so many things in my life change in that 10 days that it put me on this journey that I'm on now. So I've never worn glasses since. But what does bother my eyes, not just diet, but the light from the phone. The light from the phone is daylight, and it messes with the melatonin. So I don't know how you sleep at night. If you're a little bit restless or something like that, that could be an oxygen issue, or your eyes are tired because they're staring into daylight at night when they should be resting. Fire is different, and that's something that we've gotten away from. But our communities, as the world shifts, I think we're going to go back to small communities, and if we're allowed, we'll be able to have campfires again. And the stories around the campfires are what brought us into this world that we're in now. And to remember that when we are cleansing, we're changing the pressure in our body in certain areas. It could be the liver, it could be the gallbladder. I mean, I'm looking at myself in the phone. That's why I did that. It could be the liver, gallbladder, spleen, prostate. Doesn't matter. If it's congested, it's going to start to swell, get inflamed. And that's what's causing the malabsorption. The cells all need hydration, nutrition, oxygen, movement, rest, which we get very little of, especially since light bulbs and we're awake when we should be doing the campfires and the storytelling that's for the next 7 generations out. We're all about me, 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 me. And as a community, that's tough. So in the Qigong classes, we're a community. And people come and go. It's okay. But the core, we're a community working on helping our body heal itself. And that's hydration with live liquids, lots of breath work, lots of movement. When we're burning more energy than our body is producing, like if you go outside and you run, somebody says, I'm going to go run 26-mile marathon. Well, chances are you're not going to make it if you're not used to doing that. Because we're burning more energy than we are producing. So with proper hydration and nutrition and breath work, we're getting that oxygen into that cell, and that's powering the mitochondria, because the first breath is in, that's what gave us life, and the last one is out, and that's where the energy in our body goes to source, and the body stays here. So it's really important to control our computer time, especially at night. So an hour before you go to bed, and you may already do this, I don't know, but an hour before you go to bed, it's a good idea to shut all your electronics off. Put on some soft music. The slower you move, the more energy the body creates. And the less energy it burns. That energy, so we know energy creates matter. So the energy that you're doing in these small, slow movements with the breath matching through the nose and out the mouth will help to regenerate and clean your eyes, your sinuses, your brain. And so we have 6 lymphatic gates in the body. And I have videos on this, and everything I do is free. So just above the collarbone and just below the collarbone, this is the first gate called gate 1. And you do both sides. This side drains this side of your head, and this side drains this side of your head. So this is the main number 1 lymphatic gate right here. And right behind the ear, just above your jawbone, there's a little hole there. That's the largest lymph node in the neck. So you rub that, and then you rub down the muscle on the side of your neck. Okay? That's all lymph nodes down through there. Your autonomic nervous system, your vagus nerve, comes out right behind your ears, right there, right where that large lymph node is. And if that's congested at all, if it's sore, don't push on it. Just rub around it as much as you can and drag down, and over time that'll open up. But this is what drains this whole area down here, and it goes right into gate 1. So like I said, there's 6. So just doing those things increase your live liquids. I prefer the master cleanse because it doesn't cost that much, so most people can afford it. It's just water, clean water, lemon, a little bit of maple syrup. That's optional, and it's the taste. And the other things that are in there, everything in there is optional. It's the water and the lemon. Lemon is the greatest cleanser, and it will get into areas that are dense, that are tight, that are congested, and it'll start to strip those out. And over time, for me, it was only 7 days. And
Did you do the
so,
saltwater cleanse too when you did the master cleanse? I've done the master cleanse quite a few times.
right.
So do you use the cayenne and do you use saltwater? I hated the saltwater thing. No? And is
No,
lime
no,
okay? Because lime is cheaper than lemon here.
yeah, absolutely, yeah,
Okay. I
any
drink
any
lime juice every
citrus,
morning.
good.
Okay. Okay,
Good.
yeah,
But
you know what? I am having colon issues and ringing in the ears, so this is all making sense. Thank you so much. I really
yeah,
appreciate it. And I
so
want to
you
lose a
want to
little
get
bit more
these
weight. And
gates. You're gonna
yes,
get
I
these
like
gates
that. Thank
open
you.
and do that nose breath, nice and deep, belly breath. And it's a good idea to put your hands on your ribs. When you breathe, your hands should pull apart. And when you exhale, your hands will kind of go back together. So you want to, that's what gets that primal brainstem pumping. And the pineal gland is in the middle of the cerebellum, which is back here. And that's moving. It's moving the cerebellum. If you have any issues with balance, that's where that is back here. And the pineal gland is right in the middle of that. So when you're doing your breath work, this is why breath work is so powerful. When you're doing your breath work and you're breathing through your nose and you're increasing your belly size and your ribs are expanding, because the ribs are a cage. And if it's not flexible, you're not able to get a good deep breath. And you can do a belly breath without moving the rib cage. So it's important to get that rib cage to open. So you get a good deep breath and the diaphragm drops, the heart relaxes. But down here in the 2/3 of our fluid is right here in our belly. So that diaphragm is pushing on that. So it's massaging all those organs and glands. So they relax when you exhale and it helps pump the blood. So it can take a lot of pressure off the heart. Uh, there's so many things, but just tapping around the side, just gently tapping your head, getting that vibration through the skull into things to get things moving. People who have gum issues, the master cleanse, well, live liquids will get rid of that because it tightens things up and cleanses them out. The body's designed to take care of toxin. So the body's not afraid of toxins. What it's afraid of is that we're not going to help it eliminate them through proper hydration and nutrition and oxygen and movement and rest. So when we lay down at night, that's when the lower half of our body really detoxes. It has to go from our feet all the way up through the gates to get to gate 1. So it's really important to understand these things and how just simple they are. I mean, you can open all 6 lymphatic gates in, I don't know, maybe 3 minutes, and that's taking your time. So as our body matures and we're eating foods that are designed to keep us addicted and have a lot of sugar in them, and soy is a big issue now too, because not soy but estrogen. Soy is number 1 in estrogen, and number 2 is hops, and this is why guys get big breasts and bellies, because it's estrogen and it's changing them chemically. And it's in sausage. It's in everything now. And it's being done by design. So we have to really be careful where we go and what we do. And if we see a change, look at the food we're eating and see what changed in that food. There are 7 manufacturers that manufacture scented oils for food. So they could literally, if they could make cardboard look like a hamburger and you put the barbecue oil that they make on it, it would taste just like a barbecued burger. That's why they get away with making all this Frankenstein food, is it's the oil that gives it the flavor and the smell. And these restaurants, like you take Burger King, right? The Bionic Burger, the Whopper. That whole burger was designed by Burger King and the FDA. And there's really not a lot. It has like 250 ingredients in it. It used to be online. It was called the Bionic Burger. And there's a Burger University too. I don't know if you've seen that and your kids have seen it, but the university I think it was 86 or 87. A guy bought 2 burgers from McDonald's and put one in his pocket, and he found it a year later. It looked exactly like it did the day he bought it. There was no mold on the bread. There was no mold on the meat, the cheese, everything looked identical, and so did the fries. That's still in a museum today, and it looks exactly like it did the day he bought it. So you want Frankenfood. That's some pretty good stuff right there. So I have no idea what it's doing in the body, but I bet it's not good. Because we're designed to eat live food, not food that can lay on the shelf for what, 30, 40 years. And there's a lot of burger universities now, and they're all online. You can go check them out. When I say they're burger museums, not universities, burger museums. And it's just people going out and buying stuff and putting it on and dating it. And so we're in for a ride for sure. And that's why we need to keep our wits about us and not be tricked by scientifically proven to be good for us. Scientifically, no. Nature is what's good for us. And we've lost our way because we've been influenced and programmed by the system to believe that we're actually helping our body when we're helping our body. We're not helping our body unless we're doing the breath work and we're doing the live liquids and we're helping that stuff move through, because it's like sludge. You know, if I had a bowl of pudding here, and I have a video on this where I actually have a bowl of pudding, and you take more pudding and you put it on the top of this over here, you're trying to clean the bowl out, right? And you put 15, 20 scoops of pudding in there. Does it help get rid of it? No. What helps get rid of it? Water. It goes in, it breaks it up. And when you're using lemon with that, it's a cleanser and it leaves behind an alkaline ash, which is really important for our body. So anyway, I think I'll leave it right there. That was a lot of info. I appreciate everybody's patience with that,
Thank you
because that was a
so
long
much.
answer.
Deeply
Excuse me?
appreciate that. I was just saying thank you
Yeah.
so much. I deeply appreciate that. I just want to ask one quick thing. Is honey okay instead of maple syrup with the master cleanse?
Yeah, you're going to have to warm your water up. Don't get it hot, but warm your water up, because honey won't mix in cold water.
Yeah.
Well, if you
Okay. Thank you.
put enough lemon juice, the lemon juice will dissolve the honey. But, of course, don't go too high with the lemon juice in your water, depending on how big your cup is, because it might be, hard for some people to drink, that high amounts
Yeah.
of lemon juice. But I've done that before. I made a cold, well, not, I didn't put ice cubes in it, but I took just room temperature water and made a lemon
Mm-hmm.
juice, and I mean a lemonade, excuse me, lemonade. And if you put enough lemon juice, it will dissolve the honey. But, it's just depends
Oh.
on how much lemon juice you put. But also, right quick, I wanted to add a couple things on what Gary was saying about the blue light spectrum at nighttime. See, when we look at electronic devices, even if you'll notice some of your spectrums of night lights that they use in the streets are blue, and
Mm-hmm.
some of them are orange spectrum, because they use different types of bulb. They use high pressure sodium bulbs, and they also use the daylight bulbs, and so what happens is that spectrum of light, because what a lot of people don't know is that at nighttime, when the sun goes down, that orange color increases the production of melatonin in your pineal gland, because your pineal gland is photosensitive, because we're supposed to go outside,
Mm-hmm.
because we're circadian rhythm creatures. We're supposed to go outside and get the first rays of the sun to activate the pineal gland so that it will wake up and it will start to produce serotonin. Okay. And then that's why the sun gazing in the morning time is beneficial, but you don't want to look directly at the sun rays. Especially in the beginning stages of your health journey, because when you have lots of head congestion and acids in the brain and the head, because remember, the eyeballs are a part of your brain. They're not separate from the brain. They're a part of your brain. It's just they are poking out of your skull, so they're really a part of your brain. So, if you have a lot of congestion of acids in your head, then looking at the sun, those sun rays are going to irritate those acids. So some people can tolerate gazing at the sun in small dosages when they're healthier, or when they have less acid congestion in the head, because they can tolerate, more of those sun's rays. And then in the evening time, when the sun is setting and it's that orange color, that's helping your pineal gland to produce more melatonin. So what you can do at nighttime is, if you have to view some of the lights at nighttime, you can change over your light bulbs. Some people do this to a orange spectrum light bulb, and then some people, they'll also wear the glasses. They're orange spectrum glasses. They call them blue light blocking glasses, and that can help protect you from looking at the screens that are blue light and things. And then also, I have in my bedroom, my two main lamps I have in my bedroom are salt lamps, and they're Himalayan salt lamps. So they glow a beautiful orange light, and then also when you put heat through salt, it puts positive ions in the air that negates the negative ions that are in the air. And that gives you a more relaxed feeling, but it also makes all the dust and the particles of dust that are floating in the air, makes them drop to the floor, because it's those positive ions that are keeping the dust suspended in the air, and it makes it harder on your sinuses and your breathing, because you're breathing that in, it's floating around. That's another reason why we need to open up the doors and let plenty of oxygen flow through the house, blow some of that stuff out and get better airflow going in the house. So those are some of the things I could add to what he was saying there. And you asked earlier about the sun gazing and things, and I wouldn't do that right now at where you're at, because that could be irritating to those tissues. Because sun is vital for our bodies. When our bodies have a high enough level of antioxidants flowing through them, because sun is positive in certain ways. But it can be also irritating when a person has too much acid congestion in their body, because the sun is acid because it's heat. Heat is acid, cold is alkaline. That's why in the wintertime, we always have a tendency to detox more, even if we're not trying to detox. That's what the common cold is, because of the cold weather, and that's why people, they get so much, more colds during that time of year. But that's also one of the best times to detox, because of that reason. So it just, there's many different things you have to look at, and stuff. So that's what I just wanted to add on that topic, and then we'll move on to some other ones.
Thank you very
I had
much.
one thing I wanted to say. I had one thing I wanted to say was, so if you want to do a great experiment, this happened at one of my friend's houses. He had a big sodium light on his log cabin, and there were spiders and moths, and I mean, it was completely covered all the time. He bought an LED light and put it up there. You couldn't find a bug up there. They won't even go near it. And that's what we're staring into all the time. So I just wanted to mention that.
That's very
How
right.
that did.
And I can add to what Gary said even more. Did you know they've done studies, and they've noticed that some of the halogen type of bulbs that they use in the school rooms, that are certain spectrums of a wavelength and color, and they're made by, like Gary's talking about, certain ways, they actually cause behavioral problems, and they change the light bulbs out to different type of light bulbs, and the behavioral problems went away almost instantly. And the reason why they proved this is because they set up cameras, and they noticed by the way that the kids behaved, the way they moved around, how they were fidgety, how they wouldn't sit still, and all these different things. So yes, spectrums of light is important for our bodies. But while we're talking about it, I know this wasn't brought up, but in case anyone's curious, is that you hear all about this red light therapy today. Well, red light therapy, it can be beneficial in certain cases. But again, you also have to be careful with, I guess, being overexposed to it in certain ways too. So there's many different colored therapies for the body that can help the body in different ways. You just have to look at, what's the source that it's coming from. Like we're talking about the different bulbs, the different electricity that's coming from it. because there could be different types of electricity that's given, like radiation. That's the deal with like infrared. Infrared, that's the main reason why we don't like infrared, and Dr. Morse doesn't like infrared, is because it gives you radiation exposure. That's the main reason. When a steam sauna doesn't, it's just steam, So that's what you have to also look at with some of the electronics, is the radiation exposure, yeah.
These women are also taking those masks nowadays, and they put them on their face for
right.
red light exposure, and they do this nightly.
That's
I'm
right.
sure there's men that do it too, but all the videos I see so far are the women doing it in their nightly routine.
Yeah, well, there's a lot of things, and we won't go off on this dip in because we could spend a while talking about this. And I know Tony is trying to keep the replies as short as we can. It's challenging for me and Gary sometimes, but did you know we're hearing a lot of stories. I know I am. I don't know about you guys. I can't speak for you guys, but I imagine you are. We're hearing a lot of stories from women of the consequences from getting all the lip injections, the lip fillers, and the Botox. And all of that stuff is causing major reactions in their body. And even, like we talked about before with the tattoos and what it just boils down to is that, people don't realize your lymphatic system is right. It's kind of close to the surface of your skin, and so that's why also it's it's very fragile. It's very tender. That's why, like when Gary was talking about doing the massaging that's why I was saying be gentle with it, because when you go to a massage therapist, and they tell you they want to do a deep tissue massage, you need to sometimes tell them, well, that's not what I want you to do right now, because I have some sore, tender areas. Because even Marcy, the late great Marcy that helped Dr. Morse, she talked on one of the old videos that they had about how she had a horrible experience going to a massage therapist, and she told him on her leg she had a sensitive lymphatic channel. It was actually a whole little channel where she was having some soreness. And he insisted on doing a deep massage on her, and right after she told him not to, and she got off the table saying, "Ow, that hurt." And she said that 2 weeks later, she had a raised channel on her skin where it was inflamed and hurting because he made it worse by being over aggressive on the area that was already sensitive. And so we have to understand that the lymphatic system and lymphatic channels, they're dealing with acids and acid waste. So, they're naturally going to be a little bit inflamed at times because they're trying to handle all that waste that's flowing through them. And then plus, think about it. It can get quite congestive too if we don't help it to stay fluid and flowing, because it doesn't have a pump unless we pump it. And also, lymphatic system is a lipid-based system. So it can be congestive in nature because it's kind of oily, it's greasy. And that's also why it's very important to keep your lipids to 0 or very low, especially keep it to only plant-based lipids like some avocado if you're not doing a full fast. And that's the reason why we talk about with a full fast, you don't want to consume any lipids, because if you're consuming lipids, then it's hard to get the lymphatic system to be, properly cleaned, and that's why anytime you hear Dr. Morse with a serious case and he says, do a 40-day great fast, he doesn't say do a 40-day great fast, and if you want some avocado every now and then you can. He doesn't say that. He says just 40 days of grapes. And that's the same reason why Gary was talking about earlier about the beautiful lemon. It's astringent. That's that word he was talking about. That's why it's pulling and drawing on the body's tissues. And that's why fruits are cleaners, is because so many of them are either diuretics or they're astringent, and they're helping to break up that waste and that pollution. And then one more thing I just thought of that I was going to add earlier, and it's real short, is that when you drink warm teas, let the steam go over your nose so you can breathe it in, but also let it go over your eyes. You can take different beneficial teas, and you can take a little tea towel and put it over your head like a little tent, and you can hold it up, and you can let the steam, just like women, they'll steam their yoni. Well, you can steam your eyes and your face, and you can help all that. Same thing where you can put like slices of cucumber over your eyes and let it sit there, and that'll help reduce the bags underneath your eyes. but it can help your eyeballs too, you know. So there's many different things you can do topically as well as internally. But drinking the juices, again, like you could do mullein tea. Mullein helps break up mucus really well, but you could also add the lemon juice to it and add some ginger to it, and breathe the steam that's coming off of that warm tea with all those elements in it from the different ingredients. And of course, you can add more different herbs in there too if you wanted to. And then that will help to break up all that congestion and mucus and help it to start draining. And it can start to help relieve the pressure, like Gary was talking about. Because yeah, you'll have ocular, that's what they call ocular pressure. That's why when you go to the eye doctor and he'll look at your eyes, you know, he'll test the pressure of your eyes. And that's because you don't want it to build up too high, because then that can cause, like Gary was saying, macular degeneration and just different things, you know. So that's why you have to look at all these different symptoms. Looking at your symptoms is the name of the game, and that's where I'm going to leave it at, you know. Yeah.
Okay, well,
Thank you,
thank you,
everyone.
Ted. Go ahead, Sarah. I heard somebody talking.
That was Elena. That wasn't me.
Oh,
It was
that
me. I was
was
just thanking everybody. Thank you very much. I really appreciate all the information.
You're welcome, and I hope we wasn't too oversaturated you with information.
it's all stuff that we do need to hear, so it is important. And
Yeah.
okay, are your questions answered, Elena?
Yeah, I have one for my son, but I'll just have to come on another day. You guys have a lot to answer already, so
No,
it's all good.
Go ahead, ask it.
It's probably all been answered in all of this anyway, really. You know about it, Tony. My autistic son who is low on the spectrum, he's 10 and he has accidents still, like in bed, but also during the daytime he poops his pants once in a while. I do notice a difference when he eats certain foods, but I've been trying everything and I'm so beside myself trying. And he was doing so well for a while. And he was starting to feel it again, was starting to poop in the toilet, but he's starting to have a lot of accidents again, and I just don't know what to do. I'm at a loss, and I've done so much, like looking up things, researching, trying to figure out. I'm not into pharmaceuticals at all. Our family is a non-pharmaceutical family, so that's not the direction I want. I obviously see that with you guys, so I don't know if there's anything to add on there for me to help him.
Well, I have a friend, Marty Kelly, and she has a Facebook page. You can look her up. She has an autistic son, and she had stem cell. She went out of the country and had stem cell done, and he was having the same issue where he wasn't, he couldn't control his bowels, and I think it was within 12 or 24 hours. Her story's on her page there.
Oh, okay. How do you
12
spell
or
her
24 hours.
Sorry.
Marty, Marty, Kelly, Kelly.
Perfect. Thank
And
you.
she's in Maine, Bangor, Maine. Yeah. Now, I don't know if you're into stem cells or whatever, but there are ways to increase the stem cells in your own body. And
I have
that's
been
through live
researching
liquids and
the
everything. I
patch.
mean, that's how we heal.
Oh, sorry. I apologize. I didn't mean to interrupt you. I have been researching stem cell patches. And I've been looking at that, and they look pretty amazing. Do you suggest that maybe I do that?
I would research that more. I think you might be, because you can't get stem cell research here. You can't get stem cell injections here. But they came out with a patch. So, see, because I don't think they get patent stem cells because they're natural. But now that we have a patch, we can patent the patch. And I would want to know if those stem cells are synthetic or if they're natural.
Oh, good point. I'm going to double check into that.
Yeah, and I don't know. I that would be my question, because usually anything that has to do with the medical system, natural is left out because it's not patentable. So
there are ways to raise or to use our own stem cells.
oh yes, Yeah, just
And
doing this,
yeah,
like during class when we slap like this, well, that brings stem cells to the surface. If there's any bad cells there in like from the bone out, this will help bring them to the surface. I mean, that's what happens when you cut yourself. Stem cells start showing up. So we produce them. Mel Gibson too. He took his father to I can't remember where he went, but that video is online too. Mel Gibson's father or dad, let's say, stem cell research. He said his dad, I think, was 92, completely changed his whole life.
Yeah, we're
Thank
So
getting
you.
that's two sources right there.
Yeah, we're getting some reports from people in my parents' health food store that are talking about the stem cell patches and stem cell things, and we also tell people if you don't, because sometimes the stem cell patches can be expensive for some people, because I think I've heard some people say they're like $5 a patch, and I don't know how long you wear the patch for. I'm not sure, but what I'm getting at is there's also natural things like we've been talking about that can help boost your stem cells. And one of the products we sell at the store, the top thing that it has in it is vitamin D, which we talk about that's the only supplement that Dr. Morse says that if you live in cold climates and places where you can't get enough sun, that he says you can in certain situations that you could use it temporarily, I guess, to boost your D. But there's a lot of ways you can do that naturally too. It just depends on the individual. But then it talks about spirulina, and Dr. Morse doesn't always talk about that green food because it's an
No, yeah.
algae. But and he talks about alfalfa and the other green foods are better, which they are. But the reason why I'm mentioning spirulina is, again, it goes back to that story I talked about when a lady had brain tumor, and she went and she asked the oncologist that they had heard a lot of people saying that how spirulina was helping with brain tumors. And he said, yeah, he's had several of his clients that's helped him a lot. And they were like, well, why didn't you tell us about that? And he said, well, I can't by legal law, But then it also has
Right.
royal jelly. Royal jelly's in there too. And then also has brown seaweed, and I guess that's because of the iodine. And then it has green tea, and that's because of the EGCGs. Those are antioxidants, of course. And then it has an amino acid, which is technically a supplement. It's L-carnosine, but those L-carnosine helps the brain, and it helps, helps the heart and the arteries, but though we don't really recommend supplements because Dr. Morse explains that, that can be, create congestive and pollution to the body because it's not natural like an herb or something. But also I wanted to mention, since we're talking about this subject, that a lot of times what's going on is it comes back down to he has a strong master gland weakness probably in his brain. And so you want to, of course, help support that, especially if it's hypo. Now, if it's hyper, which I imagine you would know if it's hyper because he would probably be taller than normal. Because a lot of times, I think it's the hypothalamus and the pituitary and the thyroid that makes it where you have bedwetting. I know it's definitely one of your master glands that creates bedwetting. Now I'm not sure about the pooing uncontrollably. I'm not sure about that one, but so you would look into things that it would help his brain, and that might also help some of his autistic symptoms to not be as strong. Like again, the berries, bilberries, Schisandra berry, and you could add those in smoothies. You can get them in powder form, and you could add those in smoothies. And that could help definitely if he has hypo conditions. Now, if he had hyper again, like I was saying, then that's different. But lot of times most people are more hypo than they are hyper. And then again, just try to be careful with the foods you give him. Give him more foods that would help be cleaner to his body's elimination channels. And what I mean, don't give him things that are real congestive. Like the peanut butters, the foods, the processed foods, the things that are more congestive to the body and the colon. Kind of keep it foods that are light and easy to digest and that are real naturally energizing to the body, and that will help him to have more energy flow to the brain and help his body to eliminate the byproduct from metabolism easier. So those are some simple things that I could suggest.
Nisha, thank you, Tad. Nisha asked a question, and it's interesting that you just mentioned chlorella and spirulina, because she wanted to someone to speak on taking chlorella and spirulina.
Yeah, I'll talk about it since I was just talking about it. The only thing about those two is they're both algaes, and you want to make sure with the chlorella that it's cracked cell wall, because that's easier for the body to use it. But the biggest thing with those is you got to really make sure you're getting it from a clean source, because there's been years of research that has shown that some of the places where they get those algae that grow, like there was this famous lake, I can't remember where it's at. It's called Klamath Lake. And I think I've even remember Dr. Morse talking about this in the past, that sometimes that lake has been polluted in bad ways. And I think they talk about certain areas of it's even more polluted than others. And that's why a lot of the I can't speak for well, no, that is true. Chlorella and spirulina both are made in Hawaii. I think are grown in Hawaii, and a lot of the ones that we have in our store says from Hawaii, and that could be a cleaner source. It all goes back to the company, because some people they actually grow it out in the wild, and some people grow it inside. And there is actually organic spirulina and chlorella too, that you can get. And then there's a wonderful guy that I recommend if you want to use those products. Go to the Health Ranger's website. The reason why is the Health Ranger, he has a very, very expensive lab where he's lab tested these things, and he has a really clean chlorella and spirulina that he's has that's been lab tested very efficiently for no contamination, no pollution, no nothing like that. And so that could possibly help if you wanted to use those products. And then also the chlorella. Now I don't know so much about the spirulina, but the chlorella can help with heavy metal elimination, because chlorella and cilantro, they're one of the two-part processes of helping the heavy metals to come out of the body. They help stir up the heavy metals and help them to come out easier. And then you want to use a binder like clays or like fiber, those kind of things that help bind the heavy metal so to transport it out of the body. That's another factor about the benefits of those green foods. But again, I guess it goes back to the individual and the person, and then don't consume too high amounts of those, because especially spirulina, because you might get too many amino acids that could be hard for the body to process. Because I think spirulina is 62% amino acids per weight per volume. It's one of the highest, if not the highest, amount of amino acids in any plant foods. But it has a lot of chlorophyll. That's why it's so dark green. And also the blue tint, I've heard that's really good with spirulina for your thyroid, and also for I think your some of your master glands. Because the blue tint is really good in foods. That's why blue tinted foods are really good for the body. So those are some other things to think about with those foods. Yeah, but that's all.
Okay, thank you, Ted. I have a question here. Has anyone been bit by a bug or tick and have the poison referred to lymph nodes?
Well, any of the poisons that when you get bit by an animal is going to go through your lymph nodes, so it can definitely
Yeah.
affect you. But I've talked to several people. I was talking to this man, he lived up northwest, and I know this kind of goes a little bit off the deep end in our subjects that we talk about, but I still want to at least mention it, is that he was talking about that the newest research shows that for I don't know how long they were keeping it a secret, but they were actually creating limes in an island somewhere up northeast, that they were experimenting with ticks as a biological warfare agent to release ticks on the populace, and that somehow the ticks got on the animals on the land, and some of the deer and the animals got off of the island because they swam through the water and stuff, and then that got onto the mainland, and that the majority of the people that have limes from tick bites, it's from that man-made version of limes, not necessarily a natural occurring thing. It just got into the natural tick population, and I guess it started to infect the population. So again, it goes back to where we have to understand how that's affecting the body and affecting the lymphatic system and the eliminative channels. and then you can help the body to eliminate that substance the best you can. You just have to help get the elimination channels open and help get that waste coming out, and then it can be challenging because, again, it goes back to how, it's affecting your microbiome, your bacteria levels. It's affecting a lot of different things when you talk about those subjects.
Yeah, I know of people who have never been bitten by a tick do said to have Lyme disease, and I know this is a topic that we can talk about for a long time, and Dr. Morse addresses it too, but it all comes down to, detox, whatever is it, and when I say detox, I don't really like that term, but we know what we mean by it, but it's just to start eating healthier and to heal the body. There was another one that I find a little concerning, and it's not about Lyme. It's about all these liver cleanses. It is the first plan of action in detox is the liver cleanse, and I know of people who are doing it weekly with all the oils. And I heard Dr. Morse talk about that too, saying that once in a while is okay, but definitely not on a regular basis. And we came to this topic of liver cleanses because I saw a question in the group, and an answer was a 16-year-old girl with small intestine prolapse into the large intestine. She has a standard diet with only gluten avoidance. She's celiac. And the first several responses were, oh, she has to do a liver cleanse. And what do you guys think about liver cleanses? Well, let me mention something first. I had when I was 19, I had the first gallbladder attack. It was I think about 2 months after I had given birth to my daughter. I managed to live with it for about a year. And back then, there was actually a homeopath in the town where I lived who was doing, they didn't call it a liver cleanse, but you had to drink a lot of oil to get it out. And that kind of scares me, although my own doctor was also a homeopath. And we were like, no, but they didn't have a really good solution. And back then it was not related, at least not what they knew of, related to food. Now, of course, we know it is. And so my gallbladder was removed. And so that with the oil cleanses, that has been going around for a very, very long time. And now it seems like, oh, you have a pain here, let's do a liver cleanse. What do you guys think about that?
Well, Toni, before we reply, how many weeks ago was it where we did a whole deep dive about the liver? Remember that?
Yeah, I know.
Yeah, we a couple. I think it was maybe a couple months ago now. I can't remember how time goes by. But we were talking about, because we heard Marcus Rothkrantz talking about how, he doesn't necessarily recommend people to do liver flushes because he thinks that sometimes those stones that you think you're getting out are just really from the oil, that they're not necessarily from buildup in the body, So, but I'll let Gary answer it first before I give my short reply, because it can be really drawn out and long, the explanation of different things you can do, but go ahead, Gary.
Yeah, thank you for that. So when we're dealing with the liver, it has like 500 different jobs that it supposedly does. It probably has more than that. And it works with the kidneys and adrenals. So if you have a liver issue, usually you have a kidney issue with it. And the gallbladder, of course. And like Toni said, she had hers taken out. So you have to change your diet after that. You can't do heavy foods, heavy oils, because the liver puts the bile in the gallbladder. And when you eat heavy oils, it signals the gallbladder to go out and take care of those heavy oils. So if you don't have the gallbladder, the liver is constantly dripping the bile out into the system. And the system is moving it along, but it can't handle heavy oils anymore. And Peanut butter is definitely not on the list of things that you can have. I had a friend that, and I didn't know he had his gallbladder out. He called me and he'd been having all kinds of pains and things. And I said, well, what's your diet? I said, he's been eating a whole jar of peanut butter every day in an attempt to in an attempt to lose weight. I said, well, do you have a gallbladder? No. I said, well, you can't do that. And he went to doctors. And of course, when he had it out, doctors never tell you have to change your diet. They just kind of let you walk out the door and leave you on your own, which is not uncommon. But to clean the liver is basically start to do live liquids in your body, because we're 70% water. And if we're 70% water, is your diet 70% water or liquids? Well, chances are it's not, and that's why we're all so dehydrated. No flow, no go, and flow is hydration. So getting into the liver to help it, we have to be careful. If you did a liver cleanse, I don't know, once a year, every 2 years, every 5 years, or something like that, if you're having a problem, I guess that would be one way to look at it. But you don't really need to do liver cleanses. If you keep your body clean, you're moving, you're building more energy than you are burning, and you're resting, the liver will clean itself. That's the lymphatic system will clean it. I mean, that's its job. And as the liver cleans itself, it will help the kidneys, and that will help the adrenals, and you'll start to get your energy back, and the body will start to function properly again. But it's like enemas. You can't do too. If you do too many, you're going to be in trouble, because the body's job is to clean. Our job is to help it clean. And if we're not willing to do that, it's going to get congested, and then we're going to have a lot of issues in the long run. And they're going to put us on, people that go to doctors, they're going to put you on some type of pill. But the problem is not being addressed. So this is true in any part of the body. When you have a symptom, they drug the symptom so you can't feel it. Well, it's a lymphatic issue. And over time, and that's all they're doing, they're just waiting. Over time, all of a sudden you need a stronger drug. And then you need a stronger drug. And then you're looking at maybe surgery and chemo and radiation, when all that was wrong or that needed to be addressed was more liquids in your body. Whether that's water, lemon water, master cleanse, fruit juices, smoothies, green smoothies. We need to get things in our body that will help it clean without going to flushes or anything like that. The body is designed to maintain itself, and we have been influenced and taught to believe different things about our body. Like, I mean, you can talk to people all day long, and you might run into somebody that knows your body's split down the middle this way. And this half, electrically, does not know this half exists, and this half doesn't know this half exists. So this is why when you have Novocaine, right between your front teeth and your bottom teeth, right in the middle. So if they put the Novocaine up top, it'll be from the middle back. And this side of your tongue will swell, but not the other side. Will get numb. Same thing. They do the bottom, it goes right to the center. It's true throughout the whole body. So they're trying to treat the body as one thing, and it's not one thing. It's a bunch of things, and they all have to work together. And when they're in harmony, when they're in balance, you don't even know that you have a body. There are no aches and pains or nothing. And that's how the body's supposed to function. So I guess that's what I would say about the liver, is it has many jobs. And
Would you be, yeah, it's still about that 16-year-old girl with the prolapse. What part that I have not ever heard of is the prolapse of the small intestine into the large intestine.
Yeah, and that sounds to me like parathyroid. If I'm
Yeah.
thinking of, yeah, so there's a parathyroid issue there. And so if there's a parathyroid, might be a thyroid issue too, and it depends on, it can be both sides because you have a parathyroid in each side, right? So it might be on one side that's having an issue, maybe both are, maybe the other side's having an issue. But even your liver is a left and right side. So that parathyroid needs support. It needs proper, go right back to this. And like Dr. Morse says, it's the kitchen of the body. It needs proper hydration, nutrition, and oxygen. Rest, movement, okay? And that's mostly through your breath. When you learn to breathe properly, 70% of your detox, I don't care what you're detoxing, 70% is through your breath if you're breathing properly. If you're not, and that channel can produce 70% of your detox and you're not breathing properly, that means it's getting stuck inside you and it's not moving. And that's the things we need to do is get that out. It's like if you blow on your hand, on the palm of your hand, this is a duality of our breath. Okay. So when we do our breath in, we go, okay, that's the heart sound. And that helps heal the heart. But if you go, take a deep breath through your nose, and you go on your hand, it's warm. It's actually hot. So you're getting rid of heat in your body. You're putting it out into the universe. So you're keeping your body cool internally. And when you're shallow breathing, you're not doing that. So those are things, just little things that have a huge impact on our body. So with that, I'll give it back. Thank you.
Yeah, and I'll keep it short to my reply, because we can tell people if they want a more in-depth conversation of what me and you talked about, Toni, they can go back and watch your previous broadcast or cast. Maybe
Yeah.
you might can find the link, Toni, and
Oh.
post it in the comments below this video for people if they're going back and watching the replay.
Yeah,
But
can do that.
the like Gary said, the liver, according to Dr. Morse, if I remember correctly, his exact words was he called it a chemical processing plant. It handles mostly the formation and the processing of chemicals and different functions in the body. And it's not technically a filter. It can be detoxed, but it's not an elimination channel. And see, a lot of people think when you detox, you want to detox the liver because the liver is an elimination channel. It's not technically elimination channel because it's not like the kidneys and it's not like the other elimination channels because its not main design is to eliminate waste. It's designed to do other bodily functions in the body. So that's a big thing. That's a big misconception sometimes in the industry is that everyone thinks that, oh, a lot of your problems are because you haven't detoxed the liver, and then also what people don't realize is the emotional component with the liver and the kidneys. The kidneys, it's fear that affects the kidneys greatly. With liver, it's anger, frustration, pensiveness, but it can also go back into your family. How was your family with dealing with anger and pensive and those kind of emotions? And then also has your family members, especially your immediate family, your parents, were they alcoholics or did they have a lot of abuse with alcohol? Because that can be passed down to you, genetically, and you can have that energetics there as well from that experience from your family. But yes, there's many great herbs you can do for the liver, and I agree with Gary. You don't really want to flush the liver unless you just really want to experiment with your body. But I really recommend people to first correct your
Mhm.
diet, get on the board of, like Gary was explaining, everything he was talking about was exactly right about how, the hydration, they start getting the elimination of waste flowing, start breathing properly, do all those things to help get things moving, and use the herbs for a few months before you even think about doing a flush, because a flush causes spasms. That's what's actually making the liver excrete that waste, is the spasm. You're spasming it. And I remember Dr. Morse talking about one of his videos, and I always hear his voice every time we talk about liver. He said he learned a valuable lesson because he told one of his clients to do a liver flush. And he said that she reported back to him after she did it, she seen a little piece of her liver, that came out of her body. And he said, "Oh, that's not too good." He said maybe she wasn't ready for needing to do a flush. So then I guess after that, my interpretation of his energy in that video was that he said that he really, well, and I'm interpreting his energy, he didn't say this, is that he was pretty much implying through his energy after he said that he went back to recommending people to do the herbs more than necessarily the flushes, and that only do the flushes if your body is ready and can handle it. Because I kind of find it very ironic. Gary was talking about it, very, very a good point, which I see it all the time in my parents' health food store, is that the liver and the gallbladder are very connected, because they're right there connected to each other, and they function together. And at first all the lipids come through the liver and go into the gallbladder, because that's the way the channel it flows, if I'm not mistaken, with anatomy. And then it goes into the small intestines. And we have people all the time that come into my parents' health food store, and they're like, "Yeah, I have had my gallbladder removed, and I have diarrhea all the time." And I'm like, "Well, that's because you're eating those foods that Gary was just talking about, which is oils." So reason why I brought that up again is that I find it very ironic that people do a flush with oil when oils are what's causing a lot of them to have problems with the liver and gallbladder in the first place. Because
Mhm.
technically all oils are really not good for the body. That's why we don't really recommend people to use oils at all, period, because oils are very concentrated. And I've looked into a lot of the oils, and I won't go in real deep explanation about it, but I will say this is that, when we juice, you press out all the nutrients, vitamins, minerals, and it goes into the juice. And then most of those vitamins, minerals, and nutrients are not left behind in the pulp. Well, when you're pressing out substances that have fat in them, especially oil, a lot of the vitamins, minerals, and nutrients are left behind in the pulp. And so all that you're left with is just this pure fat. And it's very concentrated. For every teaspoon of fat, it's 9 grams of fat, And so that's very concentrated. It leaves behind lots of residue that it takes a lot of time to get that residue to come out of the body. So that's why I kind of find it ironic that people use oil when oil was before causing them to have problems in that area to flush out the liver. That's why I really recommend people to use things that will help, soften the stones, different herbs you can use, like even hydrangea is wonderful, even an herb from South America that people use for their kidney stones, because a lot of these herbs, they help dissolve kidney stones as well as gallbladder stones, even liver stones, because they're all very similar. Is Chansa piedra. That's a wonderful herb from South America. It's called the stone blaster or the stone breaker. That one's great. You can, lemon juice again is good for dissolving, those kind of
Mhm.
stones. There's several different things, but then also use the herbs like dandelion, artichoke, and milk thistle. Some people use milk thistle, but me and Toni were talking about how, Marcus Rothkrantz was saying you don't want to necessarily use, for some people, milk thistle, because he was talking about it in different ways, and stuff. But I just really think that if people will use the herbs and then also, detox the body, because a lot of people have weaknesses also from their liver from taking too much medications. But not only pharmaceutical
Mhm.
medications, they're exposed to too many chemicals in their food, from all the preservatives, the additives, especially the fast foods, too much chemical exposure around their home from different products around their home, like different cleaning products, different beauty care products, their clothes. I mean, man, people don't realize how much the polyesters and the chemicals in your clothes and how it affects your body. Even all the anti-flame retardants, the flame retardants and stuff like that they put on the clothes. That's why, you really have to look at all of these different things, because again, those are all causes. And you have to look at how those are affecting your body in different ways. So if you can kind of do a self-analysis, if you have the means and you're able to, we're, even as detox specialists, if you can't afford our services, or if you don't want to do some services with someone like Gary too, that offers it just voluntarily, I'm saying that we will give you the free information as well. Like, I'll give anyone a copy of my health questionnaire, and then you can look at the different questions that are on there, and you can check it off yourself, and then you can see that if you look at the category where it says liver, and you see you have a lot of those areas that are checked off that you have issues with, if you've had a history of anemia and all those different things, then that shows you need to give that area a little bit more attention. And that's the beauty of a good health questionnaire, is that it shows you where your symptomology is, because a lot of people don't know sometimes these different symptoms and how they're connected to different areas of the body. So and then Toni was talking about the prolapsing, is that yes, the small intestines is kind of inside the large intestines. So if the small intestines prolapsed into the large intestines, then that must mean they prolapsed into the bottom of the sigmoid and the cecum. The cecum's on the right side of your body, and the sigmoid's on the left. But what happens a lot of times is that you'll have such strong prolapsing that the bladder will push down on the transverse, and then the transverse will push down on the small intestines, and then that may push down the small intestines down onto the large intestines below. And that's where you see that a lot, especially the transverse colon will sag, and it will sag down, and it will put pressure on the small intestines, and on all those tissues. But again, like Gary was saying, it's a parathyroid and thyroid weakness. It's a connective tissue weakness, but also that leads back to the master glands again, the hypothalamus and the pituitary, because you can see that in iridology. We can see all these things. We can see prolapsing in iridology. You can see the weaknesses in these glands. You can see the heavy levels of lymphatic congestion in the irises. You can see all these beautiful things, and it's amazing that we can see that in our eyes, and it can give us that information. So that's just a little small snippet of what I would say that you could do for your liver. Of course, it would go into more detail according to the individual and what they, answer on their health questionnaire and what their eyes say. But that's how I'll end it. Yeah.
Yeah, it's time. It's also time for that person to adjust the diet.
That's right.
And, on a standard diet, you got it for some reason. And I knew about the weaknesses of the parathyroid with prolapses, but I was kind of, I did not know enough to understand how the small intestines into the large intestines prolapse at a person with such a young age, only 16 years old.
Well, I just thought of one more thing real shortly that could be important for people that have serious conditions. And I always throw this out there because you never know, somebody might hear it and it might really help them. And when we have people come into our health food store and they say they have fatty liver or they have really serious liver issues, I will tell people, because of course, people in the health food store and just general people in general, some people are not ready to just jump straight into our world and do all the detoxing and everything. So they sometimes want the different supplements and the different herbs and things they can use, kind of like, a treatment based thing with natural stuff. Well, one of the things you can use, I'm not sure if it's technically considered a supplement. I'm not really sure. I haven't looked enough into it, but I know it's really important for helping keep the liver from developing cirrhosis. Because remember, it goes fatty first and then it turns into cirrhosis. Is phosphatidylcholine that comes from sunflower lecithin. Sunflower lecithin, I'm not sure how they make sunflower lecithin, but I know it comes from sunflower, and it will help emulsify or break up those fatty deposits in the liver and in the body. and it helps with fatty liver, fatty gallbladder, fatty liver, you know, all these different areas of the body where it can be fatty. And then also phosphatidylcholine, whatever foods or natural things you can find that have that in it, which also sunflower lecithin does, it's really good for the liver too, you know. So I just wanted to mention that right quick, Toni, because some people, if they're in serious conditions, serious dire situations, and they don't want to develop cirrhosis, they might want to use the phosphatidylcholine temporarily. I mean, the sunflower lecithin temporarily till they can get on the herbs and other things that they can do too, you know. So I just wanted to mention that, you know. Yeah.
I am going to
Yeah.
type it in the chat. What do you want
Uh,
to add something, Gary?
yeah, I would say no fried food
Yeah.
and no dairy.
I agree 100%.
Oh yeah, but we already,
Yeah.
we know
Well, and
we
also
leave that all
also
out.
also oils in the salad dressings. I would avoid that too, you know, just because that could
Oh,
be too
yeah.
congestive as well, you know. And
Yeah,
then
it's
like
too
you
heavy.
and then like you said before too, Gary, the any of the butters, you know, even someone that's
Mhm.
trying to transition and you want to use the butter alternatives and stuff, you know, I'd be careful with those kind of things, you know, if you have those certain symptoms of weakness going on in your body, you know.
Okay,
Yes.
I just posted the link to the health questionnaire because I have it online, health questionnaire dot
Okay, good.
online. And Elena, you asked about it, and you already have it because you filled it out for me. We already went over it.
Oh, that's
Good.
right. Okay, great.
Good, good. Yeah.
And I will also put the mucus less foods list in here because that will
Mm.
give you a good idea about what to leave out, what it does in your body. Now, I want to add to that, when I was so young at 19, that I had these gallstones and they took out 53 small green stones. I got to a point that even just drinking water would cause the spasms and very painful. So that was eventually I had an emergency surgery. But I wish I had known more back then, about diet. And oils were not in my diet at all. Not at all. And the weird thing is that I was told later on that it often happens after giving birth. And I don't know what's the difference I
Mm.
haven't been able to make that connection that when you're pregnant that you would and it started, only I think it was 6 weeks after I had given birth. But anyway, that may be something to ponder on. And we are past, that's an hour and 50 minutes now. We are going to close it up. Hi, Dave. I'm sorry, we're done for today.
Can I still say something before? I didn't get to jump in back there with Elena talking about our autistic son, but I did look thoroughly into stem cells years ago. I think it's probably 5 to 8 years ago, and there's a place in India called Neurogen. And back then, that was the only place that I had found. And there is a lady, her husband is a cardiac surgeon in Augusta, Kentucky, and he's from India, and they did take their son over there. If I can find the link, I'll post it. But they made a whole YouTube video of their experience over there and how he came about. And he is like a
Mhm.
fully functioning young man, and he was very very low down on the spectrum also. But in India, that was the only location that they were using your own stem cells, and they were taking it out of your hip and they put it on a blood patch on your back. I went through the interview process and everything with them too. So I do have a lot of information on it. But again, like I said, it was 5 to 8 years ago. So I'm sure a lot has changed since then. Here in the United States, my son's still not 18 yet, but they will not do any kind of stem cell on anyone under the age of 18. However, this one is foggy, something about it once you're over 18, that there was some stem cell therapies that you could do in certain states. But the one with Mel Gibson, yeah, they were in South America. I can't remember the exact area, but the thing about using other stem cells, there's not a guarantee of where those stem cells come from. So please be very careful about that. And stem cells are your startup disk, your reboot program, and you're going to be putting somebody else's stem cells into you. So that was something that always kind of made me nervous. And that's why I wanted to use his own stem cells if we ever went that route. But I'm also very shy of taking anyone else's blood or anything like that, which thank goodness I've never had to do that before. There's just so much out there we still don't know on like very different levels. So definitely do all your research. My son, he's 17 years old now. If you ever have any questions, I can help you. But yeah, I mean, he was very late potty training as well too. We had accidents along the way, and it literally is just a process. And once they hit like puberty stages and things, there's like really big changes in their life, and things do start happening. And it's just an experience. But if you have questions, you can reach out to me, and we can chat about it and whatnot too.
Thank you.
Mm-hmm.
I wanted to say one thing about stem cells. So this is new science. Matter of fact, we're talking like they've been working on it for a while, but the information's coming out like in the past 24 hours. They've been trying to figure out how to power AI because it's taking over all the available man-made energy. So they have figured out a way to use stem cells, human batteries, to make human batteries. And that's what's going to run AI.
Matrix is coming true.
I was gonna say, didn't we all watch this in the 90s?
Yeah.
She said
They
it
were
was a
just letting us know it
documentary,
was
not a
coming.
movie.
Yeah.
Yeah, that's right. Well, that's what they're doing. And they'll use fetal, adult, doesn't matter. But yes, they're starting to use stem cells to create human batteries to run AI. And they say it's like,
Wow.
Well, this may be a little, a little dark, but I still want to mention it. Is that it could also be a source from aborted fetal tissue too, couldn't it?
Yes,
yeah,
that's exactly what I
that's
read.
sad. That's sad too, because
It's
I mean
Yeah.
that's it's a little a little far stretched to say this, but that could be one reason why they're trying to promote in certain ways, for people to have access to do that because they're
yeah.
using that resource for other things that is a dark agenda, but they're still
Mhm.
using it for a resource, Yeah.
Yes.
So, yeah.
Yep.
Yeah, and it's sad that that's the case, but we still need to have this information brought to our awareness. That way we
Oh,
can know
absolutely.
when you're looking into getting sources, you just need to be real careful with the company again, because I
Mhm.
think that's what it all comes down to is the integrity of the people behind the company and then how well they're doing research on where they're getting their resources from. It goes back to a lot of that stuff. And I like the idea of what you were talking.
It's getting kind of
With-
quiet on my end. I don't know if
yeah,
you
say
lost.
I can't hear. He cut out.
Yeah, I wonder if his battery died or he lost his connection.
Well, it
He might
seems
need
it's
more
still
stems.
there.
He might need more stem cells.
Yeah.
Just kidding.
But it
No, but
shows you
that
how
is
powerful stem cells are. If they can
it's
actually make a human battery
yes.
that will run,
That's very scary. And
and it's
it
thousands of
was the
tons.
aborted fetal cells is what I read.
Yes,
And I'm not saying that Mel
yes.
Gibson's father used them. I don't know any details on that whatsoever, but that is what I had read is it was the aborted fetal cells. Again, my research is years old, and I will say too that my son, we never went through with the process of it. India is a huge trip. It is also
Yeah,
the whole family got malaria. There's I mean it's still they have brown. I mean there was all kinds of things like environmentally the reason why we didn't go, and the fact that it was a very long plane ride, and it was a whole bunch of things that added up to it, but it wasn't anything to do with the procedure. So it's called Neurogen, and they're located over in India.
And Gary, I was trying to ask you. I was going to ask you about this just real shortly. Do you think there could be any herbs that help, with DNA repair? There's several different types of herbs like Hoshu
Mhm.
Wu and just different herbs that I would think anything that helps repair the DNA in the body, it possibly
Mhm.
could also help, with boosting your stem cell production naturally in your own body. And that's why I recommend people to look into Ho Shu Wu. And I definitely recommend you to look into it, Sarah, because any man needs higher levels of zinc than even females. And Ho Shu Wu has one of the highest sources of zinc that's found anywhere. And they have actually done experiments with it in China, and they've proven that it can decrease and reverse some gray hairing. When our hair turns gray, because it helps the DNA. Because really, that's all gray hair is damaged hair follicles. That is one reason why they turn gray. Because the old ancient story goes is that they locked an old Chinese general in a cave, and they come back a month or two later, and they thought he'd be dead, and he wasn't dead. He was actually 10 to 20 years younger looking and had no gray hair, and he was thriving because he was fasting on the roots of the Ho Shu Wu. He was getting water from them, and he was also staying alive from the roots. And that's the story of that old tale. But yeah, that's all I was going to say.
That might be it. I don't know who asked that question, but that wasn't me. So
it's also
yeah,
called FOTI. FOTI is another name for it. FO-TI. FOTI.
Yeah. And my husband's in his 40s now, and he still doesn't have any gray hair. And everybody always is like, "Are you sure? Are you sure?" And I'm like, "No, I swear. Like, we don't do anything."
Yeah.
Well, my hair is still the way it was 50 years ago.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Perfect.
It's falling out, but it's still the same color.
I think it all goes back to your genetics, and it also goes back to how much traumas and dramas and hardships you went through.
Well, hold on a second. A lot. And the funny thing is, my mother and my daughter were gray before they turned 30.
Okay.
They were completely gray. My mother dyed her hair, until she passed away.
Interesting.
And I am amazed when I look at myself. I do have some gray hairs, but overall, it's still, I'm a redhead, so it's still the same way. And I can't say I was the healthiest, and I had a ton of trauma, and had a very, very acidic body, but somehow it's like it keeps the color. Same with my husband. He's almost my age. I'm a little older, and his hair is still blonde, but his beard is gray.
Yeah. Well, I've seen people that comes in the health food store, and the one moment I would see them 1 month, and they would have more darker color hair, and then I wouldn't see them for a couple months, and they'd come back and they say they went through a major traumatic event, and they had most of their hair was gray, just that shorter period of time. And then also, I remember Dr. Morse talking about when he accidentally poisoned himself with quinine or what it was, that his hair turned gray after that happened, and that's what he still talks about today, and when people ask him, why he has gray hair versus some people that don't, at those ages, so I guess it's just different for different people and their different genetics. Because also it could be something to do with, Toni, how you have red hair and your other family members you said don't, is that right?
My mother was a redhead, and
okay.
my sister was my sister actually had gray hair too. She dyed it off.
Okay. Because the
And
reason
I was,
oh,
and
I'm
my
sorry. Go
daughter,
ahead.
my daughter was not a redhead, and but she was gray, and it started actually at 30.
Okay. I was just going to say the reason why I brought that up is that I think they said that the likelihood of someone being redheaded is like 3% of the population. I forgot. It's a small percentage compared to the other pigments of our hair, that we can have,
Yep.
So that could be something different about y'all's genetics versus, other people's genetics that have other types of color hair, Yeah.
Yeah, I'm the one with a light skin and freckles. I'm
I got you.
special.
Yeah,
Okay, guys, we reached 2 hours. We did it
All right.
again.
Wonderful show.
Well, we tried, but it's okay.
Yeah.
Yeah,
And I hope you're not too tired, or you're gonna be too tired
no.
afterwards,
Oh,
Toni.
no, that is fine. It is just, you see that people with a very long podcast, they leave, and then they're missing out on important information, and it's okay. I have more questions, but we'll make it 4 or 5 hours, and there's more time next week.
And don't forget, people can listen to it on like a
Yeah.
faster, like you can speed up. And then,
you sure
because
can.
that's what when I'm listening back for stuff or looking for a point, I just make it so we all sound like chipmunks, and then I find what I'm looking for, and then I slow it down and listen.
Yeah.
But there's sometimes like huge long podcasts. Yeah, I'll listen to them all on fast speed, and just because
And we
not everybody
also
does have few hours.
and we also we don't always have guests that come up here and talk with us. So I feel like we gave Elena, I mean, we gave her, or Elena, I don't know how you pronounce your first name or how you say it, but we gave her
Elena.
okay. Yeah, we gave her a little bit, more of our time talking with her about her condition and what's going on, because she's up here as a guest with us and stuff. So that took up a little bit extra of our time
That's
this
okay. That's
but
okay. No
Yeah.
no, that's
explanation
actually a good
needed.
thing, because it's
If-
good to
Yeah,
have
we
some
love it.
changes, and it's good to have some guests sometimes,
Yeah.
because that
Absolutely.
helps change it up, change it up
If you
sometime.
call
And
in, you get our attention.
that's right.
Aw,
No, just
thank
teasing
you.
too.
Right.
Much love to
I'll
you
try and
all,
be
and
on
thank
more
you for calling
often.
in.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So, okay, guys. Well, thank you all for being here. And shall we do the same thing next week?
That
Yeah.
sounds good.
Yeah.
Okay,
Sounds
great.
fantastic.
Much
Yeah.
love to you all. I
Yeah.
really, really appreciate all your insights and knowledge. It's beautiful. I love it.
Same to you.
Yeah. Much love
And
to you all.
Yes.
yeah, and much love
Absolutely.
to everyone listening. And I hope you have a
Right.
wonderful day and wonderful week, wonderful life. Do all the fun things that you can think of. And till the next time.
Bye bye.
Thank
Bye-bye.
you.
Bye-bye. Thank you.